Have you ever been in a meeting where you felt like you were speaking to someone from another planet? You asked for feedback on a big project and you're met with silence. But then seconds later, your team's Slack channel lights up with a flurry of detailed emoji-filled messages from your youngest employees. If you've ever stared at your screen completely bewildered, let me assure you it's not you, it's the generational Wi-Fi. Welcome to the communication revolution led by the digital natives of Gen Z. It's a shift so profound that a recent Gallup analysis found a significant decline in engagement among younger workers, with unclear communication being a major culprit. In fact, other studies show that over half of managers find Gen Z's communication style challenging at times. So why does an unscheduled phone call feel like a personal attack to your new hire? Why is a skull emoji a sign of high praise? And what does it mean when a project is fire? Today we're decoding the unique communication style of Gen Z. We'll explore the science behind their habits, the common misunderstandings, and most importantly, how we can all learn to speak the same language to build stronger, more effective teams. Don't let communication gaps derail your success. Hit that subscribe button for GENSHIFT and let's learn how to get on the same page with every generation. Part 1. The Digital Native Brain and the Gospel of Asynchronous Communication. To understand how Gen Z communicates, we first have to understand how they think. And to do that, we need to talk about a concept coined back in 2001 by consultant Mark Prensky, the digital native. For generations like Millennials and Gen X, the digital immigrants, the internet was a new country we moved to. We had to learn its language and customs, but for Gen Z, it's their native land. They've never known a world without smartphones, high-speed internet, and social media. This technology isn't just a tool they use, it's an extension of their consciousness, shaping the very wiring of their brains. This constant hyper-connected upbringing has conditioned them for what experts call parallel processing multitasking on a whole new level. Many observers mistake this for a short attention span, but that's not quite right. It's actually a highly evolved, incredibly efficient information filtering system. Having scrolled through infinite feeds their entire lives, they are masters at instantly assessing the relevance of a piece of information and moving on if it doesn't immediately provide value. This directly translates to their expectations at work: get to the point and get there fast. This cognitive wiring explains one of the biggest generational divides in the modern office, the dreaded unscheduled phone call. A 2024 YaSwitch survey found that nearly 70% of adults aged 18, 34 prefer texting over talking, with a staggering 23% admitting they never answer calls at all. This isn't just a preference. For many, it's a source of genuine anxiety, a phenomenon known as telephobia. The reason is rooted in control. A text or a Slack message is a low-stakes, high-control medium. You have time to think, edit, and carefully craft your response. You can manage your emotional and cognitive load, ensuring you present the best version of yourself. A phone call, on the other hand, is high stakes and low control. It's an interruption that hijacks your focus, demanding an immediate, unfiltered, and spontaneous performance. For a generation that has grown up meticulously curating their digital identity, where 97% say showing their authentic personality at work is important, the potential for an unpolished, off-the-cuff interaction can feel like a high-risk gamble. This leads directly to Gen Z's strong preference for asynchronous communication, or Async for short. This refers to any communication that doesn't happen in real time, like email, and especially instant messaging platforms like Slack or Microsoft Teams. A Barclays Life Skills study found that 49% of Gen Z employees prefer using these IM platforms over email. Async allows them to manage multiple conversations and workflows, simultaneously responding when they have the mental bandwidth, rather than being forced to drop everything for a synchronous demand. It's a method of optimizing their cognitive efficiency. This preference is so ingrained that as Gen Z professionals gain more experience, their desire for hybrid and remote work, which heavily rely on async tools, skyrockets. A 2025 NACE report found that while over 60% of Gen Z prefers a hybrid model, only 38% are currently given that option, highlighting a major gap between their native workflow and corporate reality. Part 2. The new professional vernacular emojis, memes, and the death of Dear Sir, Madam. If you've ever received a work message that looked more like a string of hieroglyphics, you've encountered the second major pillar of Gen Z communication, a new visually rich vernacular. For digital natives, emojis and GIFs aren't just fun, frivolous add-ons, they are a critical second language. In the flat, toneless world of text, they add back the essential nonverbal cues, the body language, the facial expressions, the tone of voice that prevent misunderstandings. The data is overwhelming. According to research from Atlassian, a massive 88% of Gen Z workers find emojis helpful for communicating with coworkers, a stark contrast to just 49% of their Gen X and Boomer colleagues. Emojis are seen as tools that build connection, clarify intent, and make people more approachable and friendly. But here's where the wires get crossed. The single biggest point of friction is the generational gap in how emojis are interpreted. Older generations tend to use them literally. A smiley face means I'm happy. A thumbs up means okay. Gen Z, however, wields them with deep layers of irony and subtext learned from years in internet subcultures. Let's consult the emoji Rosetta Stone. A 2025 Pumble survey reveals a massive divide in how emojis are used. When asked about their primary use, only 20% of Gen Z say they use them for their literal meaning. Compare that to 46% of baby boomers. A full 44% of Gen Z prefers to use emojis with irony. For millennials, that's only 17%. Take the skull emoji. For a millennial or Gen X manager, seeing this in response to a project update might be alarming. But to a Gen Z employee, it's often the highest form of praise. It means, I'm dead, this is so funny, or this is so amazing, it killed me. The same goes for the loudly crying face emoji, which can signal overwhelming joy or laughter, not sadness. This isn't just a communication gap, it's a completely different dialect. This new dialect is part of a broader trend, the flattening of workplace hierarchy. The informal language using slang like no cap for no lie, abbreviations like LOL, and addressing senior leaders by their first names isn't a sign of disrespect. It reflects a fundamental shift in how Gen Z views authority. They are often skeptical of rigid top-down structures and expect a closer, more collaborative relationship with their managers, viewing them less as commanders and more as coaches. This casualness is a bid for a more authentic and psychologically safe environment, an implicit test to see if they can bring their whole self to work. A manager who reciprocates this tone within reason signals that it's a safe space. One who rejects it signals that a formal impersonal mask is required. So what's the verdict in your office? Are you a manager trying to decipher if a skull emoji is a resignation letter or a compliment? Or are you a Gen Zer who accidentally sent a slay to the CEO? Share your most hilarious or confusing cross-generational communication moment in the comments below. We need to hear these stories. Part 3, the TikTok-ification of work, short-form brains in a long-form world. The third defining force behind Gen Z's communication style is the relentless influence of short-form content. Growing up with platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, where messages are delivered in 60-second videos or 280-character bursts, has profoundly shaped how they both consume and deliver information. Studies suggest the window to capture a Gen Z user's attention is about 8 seconds. This has trained them to value communication that is incredibly direct, concise, and gets to the point immediately. In their world, the preamble, the pleasantries, the slow build-up, these are all friction that get in the way of the core message. This is the snack media generation, and they apply this principle of efficiency to their work communications. What a millennial manager might perceive as a blunt or even rude email is in the mind of a Gen Z employee an efficient and respectful use of everyone's time. They've given you the headline first because that's the most important part. The conflict arises because older generations were often taught that detailed context and formal structure are the very hallmarks of professionalism. Leads to another key preference: showing, not just telling. Gen Z's world is visual. They are far more comfortable and often more effective creating a quick Loom video to walk through a problem or screen sharing on a call than they are writing a 5-page report. This preference is rooted in the authenticity over Polish aesthetic that dominates platforms like TikTok. A raw, unedited, behind-the-scenes video feels more trustworthy and real than a highly polished corporate PowerPoint deck that can feel like a marketing spin. For managers, this means that insisting on high-polish internal communications might inadvertently signal a lack of authenticity to your youngest team members. Part 4, Bridging the Divide, Misunderstandings, and the Art of Code Switching. When these different operating systems collide, friction is inevitable. Let's look at a few common communication collisions and see them from both sides. First, the too casual email. A Gen Z employee sends a client a message that reads, "Hey, got the file, LMK if you need anything else, tie X." The millennial manager is horrified, seeing it as unprofessional and damaging to the company's image. The Gen Z employee, however, sees it as efficient, friendly, and authentic. Second, the one-word reply. A manager slacks, "Can you please have the quarterly report ready by EOD?" The Gen Z employee replies simply, "K." The manager's mind races. Are they being dismissive? Do they understand the urgency? Are they even working on it? Meanwhile, the employee thinks, "I have acknowledged the request and am now executing the task." Further words are inefficient. And third, the after-hours meme. At 10 p.m., a Gen Z employee shares a funny work-related meme in the team chat. The manager who is trying to disconnect feels their work-life boundary has been violated. The employee, fluent in asynchronous culture, sees it as building team camaraderie and assumes the manager will just view it in the morning when it's convenient. The core of these conflicts isn't malice, it's a fundamental mismatch in unstated expectations. So how do we bridge this gap? It requires effort from both sides. For managers and leaders from older generations, here are a few key strategies. First, assume positive intent. Don't default to seeing a casual tone as disrespect. Focus on the outcome and the quality of the work, not just the packaging. Second, set clear guardrails, not rigid walls. Instead of banning emojis, create simple, explicit communication protocols. For example, internal team chat is casual and a great place for GIFs. All client-facing emails, however, must include a formal greeting, full sentences, and no slang. This provides structure without stifling personality. Finally, embrace reverse mentorship. Pair your Gen Z employees with more seasoned colleagues to train them on new communication tools. This leverages Gen Z's digital fluency as a team asset, not a liability. For Gen Z employees, the single most powerful skill you can develop for your career is professional code switching. The term originally comes from linguistics and refers to the practice of alternating between two or more languages or dialects in a conversation. In the workplace, it means being able to adapt your communication style to fit the context, the audience, and the channel. This is not about being fake or losing your authenticity. It's about demonstrating emotional intelligence. It's recognizing that the way you talk to your friends on a Discord server is different from how you present in a board meeting. For example, a quick chat update might be, "Your project X is done. It's kind of fire." Code switching that for a formal email to your boss looks like this. "Hi, manager's name. Just a quick note to let you know that I've completed the initial draft for Project X. I'm quite pleased with how it turned out and believe it meets the key objectives we discussed. The file is attached for your review. Please let me know if you have any feedback. Best regards, your name." Mastering this skill shows you are adaptable, perceptive, and respectful of different professional norms, all hallmarks of a future leader. In today's diverse, multi-generational hybrid workplace, code switching is the new business etiquette. Conclusion: the future is fluent. Gen Z's communication style isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature of our increasingly digital, fast-paced, and interconnected world. It's a preview of the future of work, a future that values speed, visual storytelling, and authentic, more egalitarian interactions. Bridging the generational communication gap isn't about one side winning or losing. It's about creating a new, more flexible playbook based on mutual learning. Managers can learn to appreciate directness and leverage new tools, while Gen Z employees can master the art of code switching to navigate diverse professional landscapes. This shift is already accelerating trends like the dominance of hybrid work and the integration of AI to help analyze tone and improve clarity in our communications. Ultimately, communication is a bridge. Learning to adjust our language to listen with empathy and to meet people where they are is the key to building a workplace where every generation doesn't just coexist, but truly collaborates and thrives. The communication culture at work is changing forever. Are you embracing the emoji-filled future, or do you long for the days of the perfectly crafted formal email? Let us know your take in the comments. And for more deep dives into the trends shaping our world, make sure you're subscribed to GENSHIFT. Hit that notification bell because the future of work is happening now and you don't want to be left on read.